about a girl we were both lusting over. Helen. Venus in the night sky shining now upon this youth of lesser means, caught strolling in your night's deep calm. No god of marble, nor star of mythic beauty, you. You are symbolic of a brighter star, that from a face of kindness smiles on me, and often on a moonlit night and hour. I cannot look upon your tiny hope, but when I think of she who bears a tender Grecian name, and stoops to lift from night, I guess, a foreign friend.
How true is that poem to the girl that you guys were lusting after?
It's not bad.
Really? What was she like?
Very, very ladylike for a 16-year-old. Blonde. Fairly demure. Her name was Helen Bonnell. Yes. We were lusting after her. He probably chased me. I was never chased.
Did Lee Lowell, did he always write poetry from that age, or did he start much younger?
Much younger.
I mean, you said also that you were writing poetry at the time, back in high school.
Yeah.
How did you compare your own poetry to his?
Mine wasn't very good. This is much more skillful. Here's one called Proletarian Criticism. The advance of disillusion has failed to shock the dweller who abides in the shadow of empty and beckoning coffins. The plagues of England have brought forth a light, held on a candle, high on a stick, high mataz for the dead. For the darkness which they knew in ignorance, they knew in weakness. But more terrible than death are the heights unattainable, and more dismal than failures are the confined senses. The eyes burst from sockets, the ears explode, not all is seen, and even the hound is deaf. And if the great cannot know what ignorance is in obscurity, I am strangled by the bonds of science, and from the mystic spell I turn in disgust. But I turn to the split mush. I rattle the silly high chair, my gaudy voice gasps, and the mush is scolded well. With my slobbers I kiss the hand that constrains my mouth. My noise is but the more vague and less distant for the hand. I pledge allegiance to the hand of the despiser of my noise, and promise to whimper and respect the molder of my character. I'm getting kind of rebellious there.
Pretty good. What is it called again?
Proletarian Criticism.
This was back in high school, huh?
This may be from college. I'm not sure. I don't remember it from high school.
Well, how would you describe his politics at the time? I mean, obviously you and Mann had a huge impact on him.
He wasn't terribly political. I used to harangue him at great length.
Really, about what?
Against Republicans, against capitalism, all of that stuff.
Cool.
And he listened. But I think what he would say is that he was too much of an individual to ever be part of a political movement. And the truth was in poetry, not in social action, what have you. But
what were some of the writers that Lee liked? Did it include Henry Miller?
no. Mostly, we read and talked a lot about the 19th century English poets.
Really?
Byron, Shelley, Keats. Yeah, those were the ones that he was really, really into. However, this one, I think he may have been influenced as I was by an obscure American poetess named Adelaide Crapsey, who devised a poetic style based on the Japanese, which he called the cinquain. Here's an example of the cinquain. The echo of a barking dog. A frightened child looks around and stares. It's called The Village. Trepidation. God, this sounds like this crap I was writing. The future is a canyon chasm down which I wend my way. The day is foggy, and I am afraid.
You don't think this is too good?
Hmm?
You don't think this is good?
Well, I won a poetry award for a piece of crap called Nebulous Vision.
Can you recite it?
When dark clouds do not forbid, the fabled mountain, blue and nebulous, through mist-filled eyes may be seen rising o'er the barren plain. Why, O mind, do you ever brew a storm that I may never see the mountain? That's the only poem I've ever published. I have no idea why that damn thing won an award.
What is it about?
I'm not certain what it's about.
In fact, you know, a lot of my students, a lot of people ask exactly how do you define poetry? I know this is one of those indefinable questions, like what is the fucking meaning of life? But how would you define poetry?
Well, I have this damn poem in 2 anthologies upstairs. One a regional and a national commendation. What's it about? About my mental confusion, my growing doubt, my agnosticism, my emotional disturbances. That's all in there.
How do you know that poetry is good or bad? If it works? Because obviously some poets you do like. I mean, we were talking about Ginsberg and Harold Nurse earlier. Ginsberg sometimes is too much of a showman.
Well, I think it's a bad poem because the imagery is banal. The meter's a little ragged. What else? And it's just a damn piece of adolescent Weltschmerz. That's all it is.
How would you translate Weltschmerz?
World weariness, worry, sorrows. Weltschmerz is a kind of romantic affectation of being tired and pained of the world.
Kind of affectation a lot of adolescents pick up and try to like pretend they're tougher than they are.
Yeah.
And much more cynical, world weary and all that.
I associate the term with a novel by Goethe called The Sorrows of Young Werther.
Great book.
Yes. That's Weltschmerz.
And a lot of imitators.
Poor bastard kills himself, as I recall.
You know, and a lot of German youth were actually committing suicide in imitation of that novel.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, same thing happened to the, you know that famous play by, what's that guy's name? Chikamatsu Monzaimon, the great kabuki, you know, playwright. He wrote this play called The Double Suicide, Love Suicide of Sonozaki, where the two lovers, you know, one basically a low-ranking bureaucrat and a whore, commit suicide because hypergamy was forbidden. But when that was published, some young people started imitating it. So the government forbade the public showing of that play, and it was not played again until the 20th century, even though it was considered to be one of the great works of Chikamatsu. So poetry and life imitates art. You think that's true?